Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, DJ Hamilton, here at the DJ Sports Show here on WRCR 1700 AM radio. It is a rainy weekend here in Garnerville, New York. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing all right, and yourself?
Doing good here today, man. We got a great show here for you guys today. We got our former Alma Mater. They won the conference championships last weekend, man. The basketball program, both the women's and the men's teams.
There we go.
Yeah, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, first thing I want to get into is SUNY New Paltz. The men's and women's team last weekend won the SUNY Conference Championships. For the women's side, this is their seventh SUNYAC title in program history and their fourth in the last 5 seasons. And the men won their first ever SUNYAC Conference Championship in the program's history. We're going to get into all that today. Well, they also had the NCAAs last night. We'll get into that after we talk about the SUNYAC Conference Championships. So, you know how the old saying goes, ladies first, right, Will?
I do know that, yes.
Oh, yeah. So let's start with the women first. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the women won their fourth SUNYAC title in the last 5 seasons, defeating Geneseo 52-47, led by now the 2-time repeating SUNYAC Player of the Year in Breonna Fitzgerald, with her double-double, 16 points and 10 rebounds. She was named the SUNYAC Tournament MVP on the women's side, and she also had help from her 2 other teammates in Jenny Walton, who finished with 13 points and 3 rebounds in that game against Geneseo, and Julia Sabatino, the all-around Swiss Army knife, who had 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. Both teams really struggled shooting in that game, Geneseo and the Hawks. But the one thing that got the Hawks winning this game, they had easy transition baskets. They outscored Geneseo on the fast break 20 points to nothing. They were able to get easy baskets. They didn't let Geneseo set their defense and have ability to have resistance against the Hawks offense. This is also a Hawks team that they were dominant all season. That's why they have home court advantage. And we're going to get into a little bit of their win against Penn State Harrisburg last night at the Hawks Center. But I just want to give a quick shout out to Breonna Fitzgerald, winning SUNYAC Player of the Year, and she became the all-time scoring leader in the program history. I know you didn't know that, Will, but she is the all-time scorer. I did an article on her this week as well. She really is doing her thing. Jenny Walton and her were named all SUNYAC first team selections, and Abby Korzakwinski was named to the all SUNYAC third team. And I had a chance to talk to Breonna earlier and before the season started, back in October actually, before the season started in November, on what her goals were coming into the season. Take a look to my most played podcast episode ever of the DJ Sports Show when I had a chance to interview the 2-time SUNYAC Player of the Year.
What are your goals this season as a team and individually?
As a team, we always expect to win a championship. Last year we fell short, but I still will hold my team to the same exact standards and, trying to make it further than that in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully we can make the Sweet 16. Hopefully we can, start to really turn heads and push people aside so we can start, winning some games over there. Personally, I still have a very high ceiling for myself. My ultimate goal is to be the National Player of the Year, so let's hope that I can play well enough this season to accomplish that.
Yeah, some lofty goals. I like that. Aim high, strive for greatness. So, quick hitters now. You ready?
I'm ready.
What was the biggest pivot?
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, so that was the interview I did with Breonna back in October, a month before her season started, and she pretty much accomplished a lot of those goals, winning another championship for the SUNY New Paltz women's program, and also winning SUNYAC Player of the Year. They won last night's game in the first round of the NCAA tournament, defeating Penn State Harrisburg 70-52. And, man, I know that she struggled last night. The 2 leading scorers, her and Jenny Walton, both had 9 points apiece. But, man, their bench, led by Madison Mulman, 23 points, 8 of 12 from the field. She was shooting that thing like Steph Curry, Will. I know you don't really watch sports. I know you know who Stephen Curry is.
I've heard that name before, yes.
Oh, yeah. And she was 7 of 10 from downtown, shooting 70% from three-point range. She was a flamethrower last night. St. Harrisburg had no way to stop her on the defensive end. She was spreading the floor. She was spreading the floor for her teammates, creating easy baskets because of the way she was hitting the three efficiently. And Abby Korzakwinski had 17 points herself. She also was a dominant force inside the paint. Her and Madison Mulman combined for 40 points of the Hawks' 70 in their win against St. Harrisburg. So I just want to give a shout out to the girls. You guys did your thing, and congrats. I hope they get this win tonight and continue to advance in the NCAA tournament. So shout out to them. Also, now the men's side. So the men, they defeated the reigning 2-time defending SUNYAC champs last weekend in Oswego, who winning the first ever SUNYAC title in program history, 85-80 in Keith Kenny's third season. And when I was a sports announcer there, it was his first season there as a head coach, and he's completely turned around the program. I remember sitting there up close and personally just seeing the atmosphere, program changing. The crowd was into it. The guys were into it on both ends of the court. They were playing inspired basketball. And it's just been great to see how far this program has come. It was the first title game appearance since 2003 for the program, and they were led by Kobe Bogart, one of the transfers they acquired this past offseason. He had 29 points and 7 rebounds on 10 of 18 from the field in the championship game, where he was named the tournament MVP. He was a dominant inside-out force for the Hawks. They also, their backcourt, my two guys, man, two friends of mine, Rylan Blondo and Sean St. Lucia, combined for 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, setting the tempo, making easy baskets for their teammates, and just overall playing great, being great for gentlemanship on the basketball court. Those two guys continue to be inspirational leaders for the team and continue to push the envelope of the New Paltz Hawks basketball program. AJ Knight, he struggled in the first half of that Oswego game. He's been the team's leading scorer all season, averaging over 13.5 points per game, and he was also named to the All-SUNYAC first team selection, but he had 10 points and 3 assists in the second half, and he came up big and made big key baskets down the stretch for his team in that championship game, along with Bogart, who had a big 3 as well. He had some big free throws down the stretch as well. So did AJ Knight. Sean St. Lucia had that big charge that he drew on one of the top players on Oswego. And Oswego, their backcourt was amazing. Crittenton and Jeremiah Sparks, man, they're a dynamic duo. I remember watching them at SUNY New Paltz when I was a sports announcer there. Jeremiah Sparks, man, he's a lefty. He can finish for either hand. He's acrobatic, can shoot the ball, athletic. They had their hands full, but they took care of business at Oswego, and that was a hostile environment. That crowd was into it, but they somehow, and they were down by 14 going into the half. So they showed their resiliency, their grit, and their never die attitude on the court. They held Oswego to 43% from the field and shot 54% from the field. They outscored Oswego in the paint 48-38. And my guy Blondo also was named to the SUNYAC third team for a third straight season. So he's a 3-time All-SUNYAC selection as well, and I hope to have him on the show. I know the boys last night, they lost a close one in the NCAAs to John Carroll University, 85-81. And man, they were down by double digits going into the half, but man, they showed their fight. They came back and showed John Carroll why they deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. I know they didn't win the game like they wanted to, but I just want to give a shout out to the boys, man. You guys really did your thing all season. You guys set records this season. Most wins in program history with 20. First NCAA tournament appearance in the program's history. And first SUNYAC Conference Championship in the program's history. You guys should be proud of yourself. You guys are building this program up, and I can't wait to see what goes on in the future as you guys continue to build upon this season and what was the greatest season ever in SUNY New Paltz men's basketball history. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give a shout out to SUNY New Paltz, my guys and girls out there doing their thing. And shout out to SUNY New Paltz. I'm a former Alma Mater there. I'm proud to be an alum there. I graduated there in May of 2022 and was a former sports announcer there. So I'm really glad to see the basketball program doing good. And what is my favorite sport? Of course, anybody who knows me, basketball is my favorite sport. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. Coming back from the break, we're going to talk about Paul Pogba, the soccer player who was suspended 4 years for PED use. Listen to the DJ Sports Show here on WRCR 1700 AM radio, and we're going to be right back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the DJ Sports Show here on WRCR 1700 AM radio. And this next topic is getting into some soccer. Some big soccer news came out this last Thursday where French and Juventus star midfielder Paul Pogba was suspended 4 years for PED use. Now, this isn't the first instance where he has been in trouble with drugs, as he was also suspended by Italy's national anti-doping, or also known as the NATO Italia, in September after testing positive for testosterone, which is a banned substance. He also tested positive after Juventus's August 20th, 2023 Udinese matchup game, which he was benched by the team. He is going to appeal the ruling to Court of Arbitration for Sport and plead his innocence. And he stated this: I have today been informed of the Tribunale Nazionale Anti-Doping's decision and believe that the verdict is incorrect. I am sad, shocked, and heartbroken that everything I've built in my professional playing career has been taken away from me. When I am free of legal restrictions, the full story will become clear. but I have never knowingly or deliberately taken any supplements that violate anti-doping regulations. As a professional athlete, I would never do anything to enhance my performance by using banned substances, and have never disrespected or cheated fellow athletes and supporters of any of the teams I have played for or against. As a consequence of the decision announced today, I will appeal this before the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Now, Pogba opted not to make a plea bargain with Italy's anti-doping agency, so the case was tried before the country's anti-doping court. A person with direct knowledge of the case confirmed the verdict to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because the sentence was not made public due to Italy's privacy laws. Now, for those of you who don't know, the World Anti-Doping Code, they have a standard of 4-year bans, which is why he was given a 4-year sentence automatically. But it can be reduced in some cases where the athletes can prove their doping was not intentional if the positive test was a result of contamination or if they provide substantial assistance to help investigators. Now, Pogba, who's 30, returned to Juventus back in 2022 after his second stint at Manchester United, where he was a 2-time English champion in 2010 and 2017. Since his return to Italy, he was hampered by injuries. He played in 178 matches for Juventus from 2012 to 2016. He was ruled out of France's run to the World Cup final in 2022 due to a knee injury. He helped France, however, win the previous World Cup back in 2018 in a 4-2 win over Croatia in the final game. There have also been ongoing police investigations in France into allegations that Pogba was targeted by extortionists, included by his older brother, Matthias, who has denied any wrongdoing. Now, PEDs, short for performance-enhancing drugs, it gives you greater agility, endurance, strength. It's not natural. You're cheating. And I know he didn't deliberately put PEDs into his body. And you can have, sympathy for a guy like that, especially a guy who didn't know about it, wasn't purposely doing it. As we see in baseball, during the steroid era, a lot of guys were purposely taking steroids. But a lot of people in the world, they're not going to have sympathy for Pogba. They're going to be like, man, this guy cheated. This guy, all these games, he was on PEDs, we didn't know. All these matches. And then now they're going to look at his accomplishments, and his reputation is going to take a big hit and tarnish because now of all these investigations with his PED use. And we don't know how long he's going to be suspended. If he proves his innocence and helps the investigation, maybe they could reduce the sentence to 2 years instead of 4 years. But 4 years is a long time. And he's 30 years old right now, so he's missing part of the prime of his career. And this is a guy who's ultra talented. We're talking about one of the best football players. I know some people like to say football is soccer, and then some people think football is American football. But I'm going to go with the soccer term football for right now. But Pogba is one of the greatest soccer players in the world, and to hear this is just sad. Nobody condones PED use. It disrespects the integrity of sport, of competition, and it putting a black mark on your game in soccer. And soccer, I haven't heard much used over the years of soccer players using PEDs. I mostly heard of that in like Olympic sports and people in baseball, like Barry Bonds, for example. Like, look at Barry Bonds. Some people consider him the greatest baseball player of all time. He was great even before the steroids, but he has the home run record, the most home runs in the season, and he's still not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And he's been retired for over 20 years now. And the reason that he's not in the Hall of Fame is because the PED use. People are looking at, okay, does he really have those records if he doesn't inject himself with steroids? Was he really that great? Because you questioned yourself because he cheated. Same with other guys in baseball history. Sammy Sosa, another guy who used steroids. Even Lance Armstrong, who was a famous bicycle rider, he used steroids. Before I even knew of that, I thought he was the greatest bicycle rider of all time. He was doing crazy stuff and accomplishments, but then I found out he was using steroids the whole time. So that kind of canceled itself out. But yeah, steroids should not be used at all in any form, shape, or fashion. And he just doing this, it puts a black mark on soccer. And I don't know what's going to go on from here, but it's going to be a lot of investigation. He's going to have to, this not only affects him, but also his family. Because financially now, he's going to be banned for 4 years. Maybe he doesn't get paid. Things of that nature. So it's going to be a lot of details that are going to have to be figured out. And Pogba, man, this is unfortunate because this guy had the talent to be an all-time great, and he was on that trajectory. This guy has accomplished so much in soccer, 2018 World Cup winner, 2-time English champion, 3-time Italia Super Cup winner. Those are just some of his accomplishments. and he's been in the game for a long time now. So just hearing this is kind of sad news. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come into our next topic. Coming back from the break, we'll talk about Caitlin Clark as she's on the cusp of passing Pistol Pete's all-time scoring mark in college basketball history. It was in DJ Sports here on WRCR 1700 AM radio, and we'll be right back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the DJ Sports Show for our last topic of the day, and I want to talk about Caitlin Clark as she has declared for the WNBA Draft after the conclusion of her senior year for the Iowa Hawkeyes. She's the reigning National Player of the Year, and she's first in the nation in scoring with 32.2 points per game. She has 1.7 steals per game, 7.4 rebounds per game, also leads the nation in assists with 8.7, shooting 47% from the field and 40% from three. And if you watch her play, I've been calling her for years the Stephen Curry of women's basketball. I've done articles on her. My first time I did an article on her was my senior year in college at New Paltz in 2021, that fall, where I said, meet Caitlin Clark, the women's Steph Curry of women's basketball. And I did a video on her last year where I got over 10,000 views on YouTube, where everybody was like, man, she is the real deal. And I've been saying on record that she is the greatest women's player I've ever seen. Like, she is legit. Diana Taurasi's amazing. Brittany Griner's great. Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart, AJ Wilson, they're all phenomenal. But in terms of that I've seen, Caitlin Clark is the best I've ever seen. And she's not just a great scorer, but the way she knows how to make her teammates better. Her passes are like some of the passes you see her make on the court from half court, threading the needle between the defense, and then full court as well, and then running the pick and roll are just Magic Johnson-esque, Steve Nash-esque. And she could shoot the ball from deep like Steph Curry. Like, I mean, what else? She has raised the level of women's basketball, the notoriety of women's basketball. A lot of people watch it now because of her. She has brought that attention to the game and has been better for the game. She's the most famous college athlete in the entire world right now, especially in the game of basketball. She's more famous than any men's player in college basketball right now. I haven't seen this type of fame of a basketball player since probably Zion Williamson at Duke in 2018-19 when I was a freshman in college. That's how magnetic she is. She's on the cusp of passing Pete Maravich's all-time scoring collegiate record at 3,667 points. And she has tomorrow's game against number 2 ranked Ohio State at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And that is against an elite defense, Ohio State. So even though they have an elite defense, they ain't never seen nothing like Caitlin Clark. She is a difference maker. She recently surpassed Kelsey Plum for the all-time scoring record in women's college basketball history on February 16th with a career-high 49-point masterpiece against Michigan, along with 13 assists in that game and 5 rebounds on 16 of 31 from the field and 9 of 18 from 3. She also recently against Minnesota had a 30-point triple-double. She gets it with ease. And the Indiana Fever, who won the 2024 WNBA Draft lottery, they got a difference maker, a transcendent talent coming. And they already have on the Pacers Tyrese Halliburton. But now in the WNBA, you have Caitlin Clark coming. The ticket sales are going to go up. The revenue, the ratings are going to go up because people want to see this girl play. She is that special. Growing up, she was too good. They didn't let her play with girls. She was playing with boys because she was that dominant. She's an enthralling, exuberant, exhilarating talent. She's polarizing on the court, and she has the personality to match. She does have an extra year to use for COVID, but at this point, she's been dominating the college game for so long. It's time for her to take the next step. A lot of people are like, oh, she can make more money in college than WNBA. But the money she's really making is from NIL deals, not from playing college basketball. And she's not really going to gain much from playing another year in college. But I really hope she does win another national championship. I really hope she does win her first national championship of her career and hopefully bring the first one in the Hawkeyes basketball program history for women. So Caitlin Clark is going to be a special talent. The WNBA, man, we can't wait to see her play against the best of the best. And congrats to her, man. A great college career. It's not over yet, but I hope she wins that national championship this year. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the show. It's been your host, DJ Hamilton. Coming up next is Tough Times with Lou Young with the latest on climate change. I'll see you guys next time on WRCR 1700 AM radio.